The US has imposed tariffs on Mexico and Canada and China. What's that going to happen to stocks? Well, that's what this video is about. I'm going to examine the most valuable stocks on the stock market and give you my interpretation of how these tariffs are going to affect certain companies. And all these companies are going to be hit to the negative. I can't think of a lot of stocks that are going to be helped by tariffs a whole lot, but I can certainly see how tariffs are going to make the lives of a lot of these companies much harder. Let's get into it. The first category that I think is going to struggle with these tariffs is big retailers. Big retailers are bringing in a lot of product from China, and that product ends up at Walmart, ends up at Costco, at Target, Home Depot, Lowe's. So those organizations, through their supply chains, will have to adjust to these new prices. Will they have to shrink their margins? Will they have to raise their prices? Keep in mind, we're going into an economy here, 2025, where we have job losses. We have the consumer is beginning to slow down their spending, be careful with what they spend. So higher prices may not work for these retailers. So I don't think that Walmart, Costco, Target, Home Depot, and Lowe's are going to do all that well in 2025 if these tariffs are held for a long period of time. Next category of companies is within technology hardware. Technology hardware depends on China for its uh, manufacturing, its assembly, and the products are going to come from China if they are raised by the cost is raised by tariffs. That's going to be a big problem. Let's talk about Apple, Dell, Hewlett Packard. Those three companies have a majority of their products assembled, manufactured in China. If we get into a tariff war with China and those products are 15% higher, that's really hard. Specifically, Apple has had a hard time selling more units, and they've been lowering prices both on their phones, and they just recently started lowering their prices on their MacBooks in an effort to increase the number of units. Well, if their costs are going to go up by 15%, it's going to shrink their margins or they may have to raise prices. That's a problem. Hewlett Packard, in their earnings this past week, basically guided that 2025 is going to be a lower year because of tariffs. The tariffs that are coming are going to really affect Hewlett Packard's laptop business, printer business in a material way. And I'm sure Dell will also begin to announce how their cost is going up. And for a short period of time, they did want to raise their prices, so maybe they shrunk margins. All those are bad events for these companies. So I think technology hardware companies are going to suffer. Next, let's move on to heavy equipment, big capital equipment. The two companies that I think are going to really feel the pain are Caterpillar and Deere. Both of these companies produce they manufacture equipment for construction, big, heavy equipment, as well as farming equipment. And if a tariff is imposed on those types of products going to China, that is going to be a big problem for Cat and Deere. They won't sell as many units internationally. I don't know that those companies actually have a whole lot of importing into their products. Not a lot of product is imported for them. But I think when they try to export into China, which is a high growth economy, and it's a very big economy, they'll have additional headwinds and they have plenty of competition in China. So Caterpillar and Deere are probably going to struggle. And the fourth and the last type of company that is going to be hard hit by tariffs are apparel and footwear companies. Nike. Nike is already struggling to grow their revenue. Well, now that you impose a tariff, and Nike produces almost all their product in China, that's going to be a pretty hard burden for Nike, as well as companies like TJ Maxx. It's a discount retailer that really attracts consumers by having low prices. Well, those low prices are going to be tough to keep low because of the tariffs, or that company is going to have to eat the cost and shrink their margins. The outcomes are not good for Nike and TJ Maxx. So tariffs are going to affect stocks. I just covered about 10 different stock symbols that are going to be impacted by tariffs. We'll see how long these tariffs are in place, But I am adjusting my investing plan for 2025, and I'm going to try to avoid all these companies going forward. I just think there's too much risk. I might as well buy into stocks that are not going to be impacted by tariffs. Their operations are just going to continue. And I will be able to get through 2025 by beating the market and having a great rate of return. So that's my video on tariffs. Thank you so much for watching.